The Cueist's backstory video has officially released, and I've been thinking about what his abilities might be, based off of the limited context that they have given us within that video. So this theory kind of goes into two parts. The first one is in regards to solely what we see within the video, and then the second part I kind of want to look at the patterns of past killers to be released and compare them to my thoughts on the Cueist to see how likely it is. For example, if there's some sort of pattern forming, we could kind of follow that to get a better idea of what his abilities might be when he actually releases. So, looking at the video, the biggest reoccurring theme throughout is these red and blue cue balls, I assume. And I'm going to go out on a whim and say that those are his ability in some way. They are for sure tied to him and relevant, because we literally see them going into him in the scene where he's in the lab. Like, they're in a container, and then when he gets fused with that, I don't know, lion thing, they go into him. So that probably has to do with his ability. My guess is that he is going to be kind of a distance hunter. He's going to have an ability to shoot out an attack, sort of like Violetta, that does damage. So that would make him a double hit hunter. I think this makes sense because we haven't gotten a double hit hunter in a while. So I do think he's going to have the ability to shoot out attacks. However, in regards to specifically the red and the blue, I think those are going to be different buffs or debuffs that he has, based on which ball he chooses to shoot out. My biggest guess about what those effects would be is a speed-based buff and debuff. This is definitely my biggest reach. I'm basing this on the symbol of the rabbit and the turtle, or, for those of you familiar with lore, the tortoise and the hare, that they fall down for like a frame in the video. And I am just crossing my fingers and hoping they are relevant for this theory. But that's all I really have to insinuate that they would be speed-based at all, and they aren't really held to that much importance in the video, so this one's kind of a stretch. I also think another part of his character kit might be that he has two forms, sort of like the Geisha, or the Will brothers. I think this mostly because you see him with a lion mask that his character doesn't possess. This could just be something like the Knight's Helmet, which is a cool effect that he has on when he uses a certain ability. But I'm going with the more fun option, which is that he has two forms. And that could explain why he looks so kind of boring and normal, but then perhaps when he uses a certain ability or some effect happens, he transforms into a more monstrous lion-looking form. I think this, again, could be relevant to the red and blue balls, because when he's wearing that lion mask, he has a red and a blue eye that match with the color. The biggest flaw that this theory in particular has is that I am not sure if they would hide that ability in previews. I'm just not sure with trying to build hype for him if they want to keep a second, cooler form a secret. It would seem a little more beneficial to like marketing and pushing this character that you get to see all of the cool stuff he can do ahead of time to build the hype. So it's possible, but I don't think it's likely that he has two forms. This is mostly just me coping with the fact that he has kind of just a very simple, basic design. I've gone so far into the delusion that I'm convincing myself he has a secret, second, better design that we just haven't been told about yet. So that's my overall idea so far about what his abilities could be. I'm now kind of going to shift into what type of hunter I think he could be, and with that I'm going to move away from the video and more into patterns and looking at hunters from the past. The last 3 hunters to be released all have relatively balanced abilities. Like, they don't dominate in one specific area but lack in another, like how Opera Singer is excellent at chasing but not great at camping, and how Ivy is very strong in map control but she's not great at chase. The last 3 to come out have been fairly balanced in that regard. They have their strengths, but they're not completely weak in certain areas like those past 2 were. So, with that in mind, looking at previous form-changing hunters, like the Geisha and the Breaking Wheel, they both have a very strong chase, but an incredibly weak kite. So, if the Cueist is a hunter that has two different forms, he could potentially fall back into that pattern, which would make him most likely a chase hunter. However, with the 3 previous hunters that I mentioned having been fairly balanced, all of them have had their strongest category be chase. And so if the Cueist were to be a chase hunter, he would be the 3rd hunter in a row to have that as his strength. Additionally, we know Hunter Melly is coming out soon. Presumably, she's going to be the next hunter, from word on the street. And I mean, I don't know what direction they're gonna go with her, but it seems like she could be a chase hunter too. It seems like that would make sense with her abilities, is like she gets a swarm of bees and she kills you. So I guess the question I'm trying to propose is, would they have 4 chase hunters in a row? 4 hunters in a row where chasing is their strongest asset? I don't think so. And so, between the Cueist and Hunter Melly, whoever she ends up to be, I don't think both of them can be chase hunters. Additionally, if we look at Hullabaloo and Peddler, their strengths and weaknesses, the little chart that they give us, is identical. It's exactly the same. And so I'm wondering if the goal with Cueist is to diverge from that as much as possible, which in that case could suggest that he is a camping hunter or a map control hunter. Based on what we've seen in the trailer, I think it is most likely that he's a chase hunter, though obviously backstories are nowhere the same as gameplay trailers, so this is once again me making assumptions on nothing. Another baseless accusation. I think with this theory, I'm actually kind of hoping it's wrong just because it seems a little basic. I'm sure they could go all out with it, but it seems very similar to the functionalities of some hunters we've gotten recently. And I would prefer if it was something crazy. If he's like a full camp or like a full control hunter, I think that'd be super cool. My biggest hope is that whatever the Cueist ends up being, he ends up being something fun. If he's another Joseph, I'll lose it.